As more details have come out about the Tanner Pearson trade, the truth has been revealed as to why Kent Hughes and the Montreal Canadiens pulled this move when they did. We'll be getting into that. Plus, Paul Byron calls it a career, but he still has a job with the Montreal Canadiens. So all that and more on this edition of Habs Digest. But before we get into the video, we are proud to announcing once again that this video is sponsored by Rentals.ca. Jesse, Rentals.ca is Canada's largest apartment hunting network. You can find apartments, houses, condos, whatever you want.
Across the country, coast to coast, whether it's Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, rentals.ca, it has you covered. What's really nice is that their website is clean and easy to use. All you have to do is really look for the neighborhood of your choosing in the city of your choosing. Find amazing listings right there.
Yep, for sure. And as you guys know, if you've watched a lot of these rentals ads, because there have been a good few of them, I have used rentals.ca. To me, again, the cleanest and easiest to use of any platform I use. I could find exactly what I wanted, where I wanted, and hey, I've seen their billboards, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have too. If you've seen these big blue billboards around your city, hey, that's rentals.ca. So if you are looking for your next house, condo, apartment, whatever you want, click the link down below. Let them know that we sent you to rentals.ca. Jesse, let's dive into Paul Byron, and it's a sad day, but it's a day we knew that was coming. But you know what? There was some good news to cap it all off. So Paul Byron, see Paul, he calls it a career as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. However, he was without a job for about 12 minutes until the Montreal Canadiens said that he would serve as the player development consultant. He's going to be on ice working with a lot of the players. And Jesse, I mean, we've talked a bit about Byron before and his impact with the organization, but I feel like this is just such a perfect transition. I mean, we saw him working with the guys even when he was injured, and it feels like everyone likes him, feels like the organization like him, and I think this is going to be amazing for our young core.
See, Paul has become Coach Paul now.
That's right.
And, I think really a win-win for him to be able to continue his hockey career. As you can tell, this was tough for him. He wanted to play. He was trying every angle that he could to keep his playing career going. But just the fact that he can continue his career in another way in the NHL is just so great to see. And I think it's nice for the Montreal Canadiens as well, the players, because they get to work with somebody that they're familiar with, being a part of the culture and everything else, kind of that togetherness, that chemistry. I think he's going to be a great guy in that role. Obviously a great speaker and has the makings of a great young coach as well.
Yeah, I mean, he saw this team go into a rebuild. He made the Stanley Cup Finals with some iconic moments during that run. Of course, that first round goal against the Leafs is etched into everyone's memory. He's been through some good times and some bad times, but one of the greatest waiver wire pickups of all time, Jesse. I mean, from the Calgary Flames. You got to think, though, his attitude, right? Being that guy who was waived just to get picked up by another team and have such a great career for them, that kind of attitude and humility that must have to go into that should be such a great attribute to share with the rest of the organization.
Much like Martin St. Louis, right? Many players in our organization have had to battle through that. Caufield in his young career kind of being doubted. And then we even have prospects where, they're going to have to battle through some adversity. So it's going to be nice for them to see, okay, I can look up to people in this organization that have faced adversity, but have managed to make amazing NHL careers. And in the case of Martin St. Louis, Hall of Fame careers, right? The sky is really the limit there. So like you said, I think that he's going to be a great voice for all of those reasons.
Exciting to see him stick around. But Jesse, let's dive into the important stuff. And again, apologies guys for not getting the video out yesterday, but there was more details, and guess what? We're going to share them all with you today. And the real truth behind the Tanner Pearson trade, so just a quick refresher if you guys don't remember. The Habs acquired Tanner Pearson and a third-round pick in 2025 from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for goaltender Casey DeSmith. And Jesse, Tanner Pearson has had a solid career. I mean, former 20-goal scorer not that long ago, 2019-20 in 69 games, put up 45 points with 21 goals. He's usually a half point per game kind of guy. Unfortunately, his career has been a bit derailed by injuries. But Kent Hughes says that his wrist is getting a lot better. He had major reconstructive surgery, and guess what? His wrist is already at 80%, and he's ready to start the season. But let's dive into kind of the real reason, Jesse. One of the main things is that right now, the Habs have some cap shenanigans that they need to pull. And I understand people are saying, but they took in more money from Tanner Pearson compared to Casey DeSmith. But here's the thing. If the Montreal Canadiens send down some of their young guys that are currently waiver exempt, like RHP, Jesse Ulin, and Cayden Guhle, and they waive Chris Weidman and send David Reinbacher back to Europe, even with this Tanner Pearson acquisition, while also getting a third-round pick, Montreal will have enough room to sneak under the salary cap with Price's contract being on in-season LTIR, which gives the Habs a lot more cap flexibility. Jesse, you gotta think Kent Hughes was just a mastermind behind the scenes, making sure these numbers worked, because a move that on the surface makes the Habs pay more money, might actually be the perfect thing to bring him just under where they need to be.
Definitely. And all these moves would just kind of need to be on paper, and then you're just bringing them back to the club
Exactly.
before the season begins. So really, like, no harm, no foul there whatsoever. So again, he's really showing just his acumen as a former player agent. So good with the numbers that we could really work this out in the way that we did. For sure, we're bringing back a little bit more money, than obviously we're sending out. But I really feel for just kind of that experience in our bottom six. He kind of reminds me of like Corey Perry a little bit in
Yeah.
terms of that. He's got the size, he's got that experience, that good old Canadian kid, as Don Cherry would say. And having that experience of having won the Stanley Cup in the past, I think that, when you're doing development, having those guys with experience is obviously very important for your young guys on your team. You can't really develop without them, you would say. You need to have a couple around. This is a really young team. We just looked at the other day where we were projected to have one of the youngest opening night lineups. I believe it was third in the NHL. So, bringing that, that experience there is definitely welcome in a lot of ways. And like you said, he's not removed from playing some very good hockey, for sure. Like, if you remove last year, those 3 years previous, he averaged 15 goals, right? And so, like you said, he's at 80% right now. And I like that Kent Hughes is being super transparent. Okay, no, he's not at 100% right away. But, this guy, has the potential. He could very easily score 15 goals, if not more this year for the Canadiens as well.
Yeah, he's again, it's a pretty low risk move, right? Considering you can be cap compliant, and like you mentioned, just to clarify for everyone watching, when I said send down players, like Jesse corrected me on, that would just be like you send them down the day before the season, you call them back up when the season starts, once Price's contract officially goes to LTIR. So like you said, no harm, no foul. These guys aren't actually going to be in Laval. They'll be on the Habs roster to start the season. Just some little GM cap shenanigans. But you're right, Jesse. Like, Tanner Pearson he's quite a good fit at forward. And I think another reason Kent Hughes did this trade, you might be thinking, well, why not keep the cap flexibility? Because DeSmith costs less. Like you mentioned before the show, this also allows you that extra goalie spot. So if you need to in season, you have the option to bring up Cayden Primeau. Now, he's no longer waiver exempt. So if you send him back down, he'd have to pass through waivers where other teams get a chance to claim at him. But it opens that little extra spot because maybe they want Primeau to play some more games. However, Tanner Pearson is definitely a forward, and there's currently a bit of a logjam. But Jesse, another reason that Kent Hughes maybe pulled this deal now, I don't think it's any coincidence that the day after he trades for Tanner Pearson, we hear that Christian Dvorak will be out for at least another month and a half to 2 months, not going to be ready until November. I mean, you gotta think that picking up Tanner Pearson had something to do with this injury update.
It's very, very true. And, again, just kind of providing a little bit of that experience as well there. And I really kind of question with Christian Dvorak, does this open up a spot for Owen back? But you have to feel like a Christian Dvorak trade. You had to feel like, sooner than later, but this is definitely going to delay it. The fact that now the news, we knew he was injured, but the fact that it's going to be till November, that's a significant amount of time. So you have to feel like he's going to have to get back. It'll take him at least a couple months being back in the swing of things before you see, any sort of trade, I would imagine, there on that front. But yeah, no, it's interesting, definitely getting a little bit of that experience, that we need, a little bit of that, little bit of that knowledge just for those younger guys in that bottom six, right? Is going to look very young. So I think Tanner Pearson kind of bringing that up to kind of replace Christian Dvorak. And again, we don't know how long he's going to be here, but again, providing that size, which I think is so important for our bottom six as well. It's another key reason of why we're bringing him in.
Yeah, there's so many like little hidden reasons. It's like you can find so many, but it just looks like such a great transaction once you dive into the details. And speaking of the details, I think we'll cap off this video with just a little bit of an analysis of what this all netted the Habs, right? So as Arpen Basu said, the second set of Jeff Petrie trades ultimately netted the Canadiens. So this isn't even counting the Matheson one. Reminder that we got Matheson for Petrie in the first place. So you can actually just add Matheson to this list if you want to. So basically, Petrie has netted the Habs Matheson, a second, a third, and a fourth in the 2025 draft, Gustav Lindstrom, Nathan Legare, and also Tanner Pearson, which is just completely absurd, right? And even just this second round of trades, this all came from sending away Mike Hoffman and Rem Pitlick, two arguably negative assets for the team, and the Habs got all this. Take a look at their draft picks. Jesse, they have 22 picks over the next two drafts, or it might be 20. It's either 20 or 22 draft picks over the next two drafts, and look how many, 8 picks in the first 4 rounds in 2025, with a nice first round, second round, and 2/3 in this year's draft. I mean, just to summarize everything, we already know Kent Hughes is a genius, and this is including this trade that where he sent Jeff Petrie away for maybe something that was a little less than Habs fans would have hoped for. It's a complete masterclass, and it's almost I feel like GMs are just not going to want to trade with him anymore.
It's really worth it to put it out on a list sometimes and really see what we have there, But what's so nice to see is we're building through the draft in the right way, and the fact that it's bringing us great young players right now. But just to have that continuity of that in the future, we're going to have such great draft picks again that we're not just, again, that we're taking our time to do the rebuild the right way. And even as we get more competitive, that we're going to have this influx of all these great young players at the same time, just really shows that, we can definitely be a contending team for a long time once we get into that window.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these draft picks, just having this volume of picks, especially with the recent developments in the Habs development department, I mean, you got to think some of these guys are going to break through, going to have very, very good NHL careers. It's such an exciting time to be a Habs fan, Jesse. So many trades, Kent Hughes making the right moves, got things that we thought were not going to be possible, like bringing Price's contract on the in-season LTIR. Those things are becoming possible. These trades are so exciting. Can't wait to see this season, but really the next few are going to be something to watch for sure. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 10,000, and we really appreciate your support. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.